Okay, we're gonna wait for a while before things happen, but yes, we're finally live. A beauty of technology. Good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone here, and I'll just wait for a minute before people turn up. But it is an auspicious day. We've got our guest here today is fresh off, fresh what? Fresh from the oven with her
Fresh
new
off the
role.
press.
Okay, fresh off the press with a new role. Okay, now today is very significant. Okay, let me just get started. And here I am looking at my notes as well. Today is very special because so it's 18th June, observed as Sustainable Gastronomy Day. I found out about that 2 weeks ago. So the reason behind the day it reminds to compass gastronomy as an ethnic aspect, but it is also cultural diversity of the world. So this was in 2017 is observed this by the UN General Assembly, UNESCO, and the Food and Agriculture Organization to make sure the day is celebrated properly. Also, we're celebrating here across the Causeway, actually across the seas, okay, because we have people here from in Singapore, based in Malaysia, and now I'm out here in connecting on internet via hotspot. So if it gets a bit patchy, not my fault. Hi Arvin, thanks for joining us. So again, sustainable gastronomy, celebrating seasonal ingredients and producers, preserving wildlife as well as our culinary traditions is more relevant than ever. Also, I have to mention that Kuching in Sarawak has been named as UNESCO Creative City Gastronomy. So one of the cities in the world, and this was something that was conferred to Kuching. I'm actually here for the Rainforest Music Festival, Tourism Board. So yes, I'm Frida Liu, as you can see, and across the way is Rianne Lavelle Boland. May have pronounced it correct. Rianne, introduce yourself and get my pronunciation.
Yeah. So I'm Rianne Lovell Boland, and I've been a broadcast journalist for a decade now. And I guess over the last 4 years or so since I've been in Singapore, I've been following my passion for sustainability and interviewing a number of entrepreneurs, investors, and also, developers of the sustainability space here in Singapore. So it's something that, me and Frida both share in common. We're very passionate about this, which is why we have decided to start this series called Causeway Conversations, Bridging the Sustainability Gap.
So yeah, we're going to do this in the monthly show, right? And to see what's happening on sides of the Causeway, so around the sustainability, and we monthly to the sustainable, so monthly is sustainable at the moment. Okay, our guest today is Ben, and very exciting. She Annabelle Martin, the founder of LJ Superfoods, which comprises largest cocoa producer, superfoods, alcohol, and super Saigon. So an entrepreneur at heart, her latest venture is with Future Food, and this is really latest venture because it was just announced 2 days ago. So congratulations, Annabelle, and welcome, Annabelle. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
We'll get you to tell us a little bit about yourself. I think like the journey is so interesting because it just started with cold pressed juices. So tell us that story.
Okay, firstly, thank you, girls, Frida, Rianne, for having me, and my ex-boss, Frida Liu, who has seen me back then with doing journalism, and eventually also wanted to come out, follow my passion, and do something on my own. And eventually, I started a cold pressed juice company called La Juiceria. So that was in the year 2013. Just delivered a baby. And also delivered a new baby, which is my company. So cold pressed juices in 2013 was an uphill battle. It was unknown. It was wordy. Cold pressed juice. I mean, what the hell is that, right? So it was growing as a trend, and it was growing globally. And so Kuala Lumpur didn't have one, and I decided, okay, you know what? I'm here. I'm a new mother, and I wanted to do business. Being an expat here in Malaysia, I just decided, okay, let's do this. I think Malaysia is one of the highest obesity rates in Southeast Asia, as well as diabetic rates. For sure, I am going to solve a problem. For sure, I am going to help a few individuals by doing this, by creating this. And so in 2013, we created the company called La Juiceria Cold Pressed Juices. We had about 12 juice bars in the Klang Valley. And it was really growing, and people were starting to realize what was the green juice. I remember, the first few reactions of some of the locals is very, oh my God, it's scary, it's green, it looks like puke. So then today, fast forward after 8, 9 years, it's an acceptable fact. It's as if it's cold press as a word is like every other word, just as in the old days when I come from a background of technology. When Bill Gates was dreaming of a computer in every home, or I know in HP we dreamed about a printer in every home, or let's say Nokia thinking that they can empower not only corporate people but even cleaners in the shopping malls and the people in the farm in the kampong with, let's say, digital technology or a smartphone. Today it's a reality. So I do think that my cold press journey of seeing how something so impossible and difficult becoming mainstream is the same journey for plant-based and alternative protein.
Right.
Yeah. So Annabelle, thank you.
Just before that, if anybody have any questions, anybody questions, in comments, please do put that in the chat, and we'll try to get to that later. But sorry, Rhea.
Yeah. So Annabelle, thank you so much for sharing about your cold pressed juices journey. So what actually led you to plant-based meats and deciding to, join Future Foods as a venture?
That's a good question, because I always think this COVID moment, right? It was terrible for a lot of people, the deaths that happened. It was terrible for businesses, but it gave all of us time. It gave us close to 2 years of reflection and thinking. And my own journey with cold pressed juices and doing a healthy cafe like La Juicera Superfoods just sealed the fate that healthy can be sexy, healthy is well accepted, healthy is well needed. It's just that accessibility, pricing, product positioning, these are important elements. So as COVID gave me time, I started to think, will I really impact people with, a few cafes that I own, or will there be an opportunity to impact a bigger region? For example, me coming from Philippines, I lived in Singapore for a while, I've been in KL for the last 15 years. Is there a way for me to use my talent and my time, which is very limited? As we get older, we start to realize, we don't have a lot of time. Is there a way to impact the future generation? I have 2 kids, they're very young. You start to think of all these things. So all the reflection during that time made me discover Future Food, allowed me to rethink what I wanted to do in the next 10 years. And this is definitely something that I'm looking forward to.
Right. Now, maybe what we can, so I just want to say good morning to Joanne and Arvin. Okay, so this whole idea, I think people are sort of coming to understand all these, what do you call it, plant-based food, right? Also thinking that some people say, hey, these high processed, how does it compare nutritionally to real meat?
I love that question, because it's exactly the same journey 8, 9 years ago. And why is it the same? People asked back then. So the height of the green juice went up, and then eventually people said, isn't it better to eat the real fruit? So the same question, isn't it better to eat real meat or real vegetables in replacement of plant-based? The answer is always, of course, if you can go to the source, this is always the best. However, with our modern life, the problem is that we want convenience, we want accessibility, we want pricing that is very fair, and something that is sustainable, that you can eat and drink every single day. So if you can get to the source, the answer is yes. If you can eat the whole fruit, the whole vegetable, the answer is yes. However, just like the dilemma back then, if you can eat the whole vegetable, like the whole basketful, instead of the juice, which is created delicious and in a bottle convenient, then please go ahead. So again, this plant-based is the same thing. If, for example, and the best product right now of Future Food is really this high fiber chicken, which I'm very excited to talk about, because one portion, so for example, if you ate a burger or you ate a whole bowl of it, one portion is equivalent to 13 grams of fiber. And the three of us, among the three, I know that at least in this little group, one of us is constipated, and that's me. And we all know we all need fiber. Fiber is an essential nutrient, except that in Asia, we eat so many stuff that most of the time we don't have enough fiber. So saying that, fiber, one portion is about 13 grams. That's equivalent to 5 bananas, 6 apples, or 65 strawberries. So if you tell me, Annabelle, isn't it healthier to eat 65 strawberries? Of course, please, by all means. The fiber content of 65 strawberries is really, really good. However, we want delicious, we want accessibility, we want to eat it as a lunch meal. Okay, let's have the high fiber chicken. It's in a bowl, it's affordable, it's accessible, let me eat it. So this is a lot about convenience, about technology, about allowing, enabling people to have something delicious yet nutritious. So when challenged, saying that isn't the original source better? Of course, just like in the old days, the salad, please, if you can eat it, a basket full, or 5 bananas later on, please eat 5 bananas. But if you can't and you want to enjoy a chicken meal with rice, for example, you can have alternative protein, you can have high fiber chicken.
So I guess speaking about, consumption, Sustainable Gastronomy Day actually encourages the consumption of locally produced sustainable foods. So do you think that alternative protein is the way forward for this?
Definitely. So alternative protein is already in itself the product, right? So it's using less resources and already cutting out the middleman. Middleman meaning the animal itself, right? So by
Right.
removing that middleman, we are already 33% 33 times more efficient in terms of, let's say, carbon emissions, in terms of water resources and all this. And I think we learned something from COVID, that anything is possible, that everything is possible. I think back then, when people talk about sustainability, we talk about it with a grain of salt or maybe on the side. But today we know the reality of being shut down. We know the reality of supply chain issues. We know the reality of being locked down in our homes, hotels, airlines, everything closing down. So I think sustainability is not a joke anymore. It's a hot topic. And, when you talk about real gastronomy sustainability, by having alternative protein with the booming population, it's not stopping. We keep growing. There's more and more people in the planet. How are we going to sustain? How are the lands are finishing? The trees are being cut down. Water resources is becoming scarce. So how do we solve it? We still want to eat. We still want, our protein, our fiber. We still want the deliciousness of, smelling something like a KFC or, the occasional treat. So this will solve that problem. And I think that more and more in the years to come, it will be more and more relevant.
Right. Not the middle.
Yeah, the middle move, yes. And of course, for future, that's very funny. So it's locally manufactured. I think that the biggest highlight for me is that the biggest revelation was, OMG, we have a company in Malaysia creating plant-based. We don't have to fly in. We don't have to ship in containers things from, let's say, the Western world. We here in Asia have our own production facility. We can create packaging meant specially for each market, let's say Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia. We don't waste because we are not creating something for across the globe. We are creating something for the need of every restaurant, every B2B, every hotel that wants to carry it, or even retail packs. So I think that makes it even more sustainable than ever, not just saying that sustainability as a word. So I think really one of the key benefits is that they are making it within the region, and the aim and the goal is to be able to manufacture in every Southeast Asian country that you kind of play in. So this will be a game changer, and I think that there are many plans ahead, and I'm very excited. At least for Asia, where we live, where we're from, this is the game that we're going to play.
Right, and like in Singapore, right? I mean, you're getting your chicken from Malaysia. I know that is an issue right now. So gastronomy refers to local food and cuisine. So how does Fuse catering plant-based meat to local Malaysian/Singaporean taste preserve our culinary roots?
Well, if you can see how we all love our rice meals together with, let's say, a rendang or curry sauce, or for Philippines, it would be, adobo and all these things, saucy, right? So as an
You're
Asian,
making us hungry.
yeah, okay, no, just
I was
before
like,
that,
it's lunchtime.
Yes.
I think that having that understanding in your heart that we want to appeal to every Asian, that drives the team in creating more and more technologies that are catered to preserve all these favorites that are close to the Asian heart. And that will be the difference from the Western world. What we see as the beginning is really burgers, nuggets,
Yeah.
fillets, which I think we all as Asians, we understand Western food, and we are also doing that. But there are so much resources being put behind to create these new technologies in order to make it relevant for us. So an example, I'm from La Juiceria. Back then when we were launching Future Foods, we created a curry katsu bowl. So, instead of a burger, which I think everybody loves burger, but a rice bowl, something curry, something saucy, this is what is relevant to us. So the team is very, very geared towards creating more and more recipes and winning more accounts that will create these dishes that will matter to Frida, Rian, and all these other Asian countries. And I think it's quite exciting. And one big important thing is that if you look at Indonesia, Philippines, and Singapore and Malaysia, we're not really a heavy beef eater. Personally, I've given up beef 8 years ago. So why does it matter that the alternative protein beef is really good? Yes, I love it. In fact, it really changed my life, eating my first burger after 8, 9 years. But chicken consumption is the highest protein, at least in this part of the world. So this is why I think high fiber chicken will really matter to at least the people in this region.
And of course, this is Causeway Conversations, and one conversation over here that isn't going away is food security, especially now with chickens not being exported from Malaysia. So 90% of Singapore's food is imported. So how might alternative protein be a source of food security?
Well, first, the product itself is created from plants, which is easily locally sourced from the region as well. So it's not like, hey, we got to fly in something from, I don't know, from UK or from United States or from the Amazon forest. We are using locally sourced products, ingredients from the region. It's locally manufactured. We don't have to ship in, all this all the supply chain, all the horror stories that we have about containers being stuck somewhere, all the flights are also all still not yet back to normal. This is another way of sustaining ourselves, at least in Asia. And I think that with this, we know we can kind of produce something for ourselves and sustain at least the people around in Southeast Asia. And I think that that's very, very relevant, that despite that there is technology in the other part of the world, we also have it over here, and we know who knows best to feed all these other fellow Asians but us, right? So I think this is quite empowering, knowing that there are several players in Southeast Asia, or at least in Asia, and this will help, and this brings down the prices. This makes it more sustainable and faster, even in solution making. When you tell me I want it juicier because we're doing a rendang, I mean, do you think the Americans or Europeans will understand this? They won't know why we're asking for it, but for us, we will know. We understand why it needs to be tweaked to cater to, let's say, the sauces, the juiciness, the spiciness. So I think that will make it really relevant to all of us. And I'm very happy to know that Malaysia has this kind of product, and that we could kind of cross over and eventually manufacture this product in every Southeast Asian country.
Right. So interesting point, right? You talk about, like the carbon footprint, right? In
Yes.
importing things in the supply chain, and it's actually just, using of energy in that whole
Yes.
process. But in the production of the what you do, what kind of sustainable measure in the production of the food you have?
So first, in terms of sustainability, locally sourced ingredients. So of course, the raw ingredients is non-GMO. We source it from around the region. We produce it and manufacture it here. And the just-in-time manufacturing is also, something very important. I think we're not holding inventory, praying for half of the world in the other side to kind of accept it based on the marketing spin that we do. But we go and find what are the problems that we need to solve. If, let's say, Philippines want something like this, and Indonesia wants something like this, or Singaporeans want something like this, we could create the packaging, which of course the packaging is recyclable, sustainable. We are designing packaging and the food according to market needs, which means there's no waste. I think that that is something that not every company can say, especially the well-funded bigger brands, from the Western world.
So, we did touch on this a little bit, that Earth's resources are really not finite. It's estimated by 2050 that 9 billion of us, the population will grow to 9 billion.
Yeah.
So, are you actually seeing a shift? With speaking about Asians here, are they becoming pickier with their food consumption choices?
Yes, I think that especially in the younger generation, so my kids are 12 and 8. I do have conversations with 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. We're seeing a shift in terms of thinking, thanks to COVID, because now we know the
Right.
problem is real. Second, because of technology, because of the internet, because of the social media, we watch and we see the behind the scenes of slaughterhouses, of where our food is really sourced from, what are the problems of the world. I think this is making it relevant in terms of knowing, just the power of knowing. The younger generation talks about this more than ever. I see it from TikTok, I see it from social media. My daughter came up to me saying, "Mom, I want you to buy this product," which it was a face cream or something, and said they don't test it on animals. I mean, at that age, at 12, I didn't know about animal testing on products, but today they know it. And at the schools, it's being taught now more than ever. So for the older generation, I do think that we are, that I'm talking about me and Frida. So, older generation, we have our habits, we have our wants, we have our behaviors, but we are also conscious. So we are a bit in between, right? We're not the super old that didn't grow up with technology. We're halfway. So we are aware, we are informed. And because of that, the way we spend and the way we make decisions has already changed compared to, let's say, the much older generation who didn't grow up with the internet. But what more the next generation who grew up right in front of the internet? They see the behind it. There is no hiding from the fact that how they
Right.
created, let's say, the foods, the manufacturing, all the expose that are plastered on YouTube, right? They have access to this information, and because of that, the younger generation who wants to preserve the world, who wants to preserve the resources, who wants to preserve Earth, in itself, will be making those decisions. And when they grow up to be in this place, in place of the three of us, making decisions, interviewing people, creating businesses, creating employment, they will make better decisions in terms of sustainability because they grew up with it. Just as they are better with technology than us, I assume, because they grew up like doing that Zoom thing. If they try to zoom out from my TV, I said no, the TV doesn't work that way. Yeah, so these
Not
are
touchscreen.
no, the TV is not a touch screen, darling. It's just a TV. And so these are the habits that I could see that is already affecting the change. And just personally, from our restaurants, we've observed how young people attuned to plant-based, veganism, vegetarianism, pescatarian, meatless Mondays. These are just some examples,
Yeah,
right?
flexitarianism as well. Having, you can have meat, and then on certain days you go vegan or
Yeah.
veggie as well, which is like that sort of halfway thing which you mentioned.
Yes, so that means the signal of change is already here. It's just
Right.
at what point will be the tipping point, right? So to me, I do think that when the urgency is already there, the more urgent, the more change will happen.
Right. I am conscious that I take more vegetables now than I do meat. Right. It's not. I'm very happy if I'm not full on vegetarian, but I do like a fiber, need more fiber, that sort of thing. I know how COVID brought up a lot of things, right, in terms of food security, in terms of even prices, which I want to bring up, right? So budget and price point remains a large concern for consumer lazy that we're talking about. Recession is already a recession, and inflation. So your plant-based products and conventional meat might achieve price parity. So I think that's the thing people more.
I think with the right investments, with the right interest in the market, with the right partners, that day will come very soon. Personally, I've watched how, so I'm doing this analogy about technology, right? The way that we dreamed up having a computer in every home, having a smartphone for every, even down to the kampong, to the farmer in the field with in the field in the middle of nowhere with no access to the internet. Suddenly they have internet in their hands. It wasn't so long ago that we thought it was far-fetched, right? That it would
Right.
become affordable. So it's the same thing. Alternative protein in all forms right now is pricey. It will reach a tipping point where when it meets the price of meat, if not better than the real meat in terms of pricing and nutrition, the adoption will become very fast. Just as in the old days, the mobile phone was just so expensive. Suddenly, when the new
Right.
technology came, the price dropped. More people jump in, jump in, jump in, jump in, until it has become a norm to see
A
the
commodity.
cleaner. Yes, the cleaner in in the shopping mall having a smartphone, having a
Mm.
chat, with doing face calls. I think COVID sped up all these interviews, or even talking on video, like, "Hi guys," it feels very normal. Say, "Hi mom, I can't see you yet," So the norm is changing as we speak, and the price parity is going to reach very soon, and we're so excited. Just this week we launched the 8.99 chicken poppers at CU. So CU is a convenience store here in Malaysia. It's the number one convenience store from Korea. So it has 90 outlets, aiming to be 100 within the year, and they have helped us revolutionize plant-based at 8.99 ringgit. And I don't know in US dollars how much is that, but the steps are being taken, and this is something that we're very committed about.
It's before Rian goes to the next question. It's 3 ringgit, 3 Sing dollars, by the way. It's 3 Sing, and it's
Yeah.
just a couple of things you mentioned, right? Because you were saying that, and you've the phone, right? I remember interviewing Grab a while back, and he was like trying to get drivers to use a smartphone, and my goodness, right? And that was less than 10 years ago when I had the conversation with Grab, and he said trying to get drivers to use a smartphone, and now everybody has one, right? The other thing, so like very interesting, your tie up with CU and also Kyochon. So it's very interesting how you got into different market segments depending on price as well. Yeah. So Riyadh, question.
Yes. So, I mean, this leads on very nicely from what you were saying about technology. So, how do you think advances in food technology and innovation are actually going to, lead to the UN Sustainability Goal 2, which is, aims for zero hunger. So, how is it going to support food for all?
I think that by making more efficient food that is from sustainable resources, this will allow all of us to kind of really reach that point, because it's taking less resources. I mean, just saying 33 times more efficient on resources alone will allow you to kind of scale it at a global level, for example, to feed more people. And the more affordable it becomes, every let's just say, every Filipino that is below, let's say the typical salary wage, can now have more fiber, for example.
Right.
So they may not understand the sustainability part, which
Right.
at a survival level, I don't think they care about the way that we
Right.
care about it.
Right.
But it's about, I gotta live, I have this amount, X amount of money, this thing smells delicious, and it has, the nutritional element that I need. So it's a magic formula that I think is needed much later on. And I'm praying that the technology and the price and the investment kind of meets in just in time before it's too late. Before, before even one day we say, just like this chicken problem. I mean, it's funny,
Yeah.
it's ongoing in the last 3 weeks, right? It's headlines everywhere. No chicken. So isn't that already a wake up to the fact
Right.
that Singaporeans and Malaysians can suffer from this, and businesses like, let's say, for example, Kyochon being the number one uh, chicken company from
Yeah.
South Korea, and they're here in Malaysia. They're quite big. I love eating Kyochon chicken. Um, they themselves are also shifting a little bit of their business, not huge, but a
Mm.
portion of their business to more sustainable,
Right.
by introducing plant-based chicken options. So don't you see that even the big players are already recognizing the shift needed? And by doing this, they'll be more sustainable, feed more people, attract new kind of people into their market.
Right.
And
Right.
with the goal of feeding more people, it's possible. And then with the nutritional element in there. So I think it's really a win-win, and hoping for the right investments to come our way so that we can make it even more possible. So Future's team is pushing the boundaries in terms of making it affordable, because we are Asians. We know this game, right? You want it to be delicious, but if it's expensive, not really, maybe once a
Right.
month. But the aim is not once a month. The aim is to feed you as often as possible. If you need fiber, if you need something delicious, and make it accessible.
Right. Joanne said, yeah, so do shake pork chicken ads. And then before I ask you the last question, and if there are any questions or anyone, do post them, and then we'll before Annabelle disappears. But my last question to you is really, moving forward, sort of touched on it, but in your opinion, what still needs to happen to accelerate transition to a sustainable food system in India and also in Singapore?
I think that firstly, the government, it helps because they reach out to really the masses. And by recognizing the real facts, which is the hard facts, there's inflation, people are suffering. There's natural resources that are being, cut down and getting lesser and lesser, and we cannot replace it fast enough. COVID has really hurt a lot of businesses in the last 2 years of suffering. So by them making policies, by them announcing the right moves, it will help people in general, whether just educating people on alternative protein. That's one. By recognizing that this is the way to go, that this could help them feed more people, that this could help with the inflation and the issues that are happening, which is unemployment, or let's just say the minimum wage hasn't gone up fast enough compared to, let's say, the price increases. So these are things that I wish the Asian governments will really take their heart and soul and look into it, because hunger and eating is a very Asian thing. Hi, have you eaten? Would you like a drink? This is part of our
So it's
culture.
top of mind.
It's top of mind,
Yes.
right? Like, what for lunch? Well, have you eaten? Can I offer you a drink? Can I offer you lunch? This is part of who we are, at least part of survival on itself. It's not something that, oh, we're hoping the government will help us, let's say, create another technology that will enhance, handbags or cars, makes cars faster. No, we're saying we are human. We need to be fed. We need to feed more people more efficiently. That's all we're saying, and it would be really great if we had them on our side.
Right. Is there anything else you want to say, Annabelle, before I close?
I think,
Anything else you want to
no,
touch on?
the only last words would really be, look, I'm not here to tell everyone to become vegan, vegetarian, flexitarian, or whatever. To me, it's just look, when we were given the big CPU, we looked into it, and now we're walking around with computers. When we were
Right.
giving handphones, that had the snake game and then eventually matured into all kinds of games through a smartphone, we looked into it and then it became part of us. I think alternative protein is also something like this. Look into it, try it, talk about it, give it a try. And I think that it's not here to replace everything completely, but it's just to bridge that gap to sustainability, into feeding more people, at least in the planet, at least over here in Southeast Asia.
Right. Thanks, Annabelle. And just before I
Absolutely.
close, I've got a message here from Harith Green Capital. So thank you for the conversation, guys. We now live in an age where we have the knowledge to create profitable businesses at the same time contribute to making the world better. And we need to get Harith on next time because Harith is doing
Yeah.
amazing things with furniture. I know this gentleman, great sustainable stuff. So on that note, thanks again, Annabelle Co-Martinez, and of course, what do I call her? Founder of LJ Superfoods, and of course, also now with Future Foods. So it's been a pleasure meeting you again, and we'll catch up very, very soon. I'm you.
I'm Rianne Lovell-Boland.
Thank you so much, girls.
So wishing everyone a
Thank
happy,
you.
sustainable guest day. This has been
Yes.
our Causeway conversations. Keep an eye out for our next conversation.
And you know what to order for lunch, girls.
Yes, we're hungry. Off for lunch now.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank you so
day.
much.
Bye.